Alter your own clothes and save a bundle. Here's how. Here's a short-sleeved uniform shirt, and it's too boxy in the middle, so we're going to slimify it. That's right, slimify, a word I coined when something needs to be slimmed from its boxiness. This shirt is just too straight, and he deserves to have the shirt fit really, really well. I'm also going to show you a shortcut trick I have, especially if you have multiples of the same shirt to do. So I stood him in front of the mirror, pinned out all the excess, made sure each side was even, and we'll go from here. I'll show you how. In this event, we don't need to slim it through the sleeve, but you could if you wanted to. I'll show you how that would work when I get it inside out. This pin line represents where the new seam line should be. The question is, how do I go from pins to an actual seam? What I'll do is take my fresh chalk. It's the kind that presses off, the marks press off with the heat of the iron, and I'm just going to turn this wrong side out and see how the pin has left a nice ridge here. I can just mark it with the chalk. Now it doesn't seem like that chalk will show. It will actually later when I need it to. Be nice if I'd had a colored chalk on hand just now. I don't. At any rate, get this marked however you would at home. Now I'm going to move up to the next pin. See, another nice ridge line that the pin has created. Just rub the chalk right on it. Both sides. If you miss one side, it's okay, you'll have the other. And just keep moving up the pin line. And you can certainly have put in more pins than I did. And just keep going. Finally, up at the armpit, basically, this is the last pin mark, and it's pretty close to the original seam line. We want that. We want it to taper up, finally, to the original seam line, right about here. Here they are then, those chalk marks, and if you can't quite see them, it's very likely that you'll be able to see the pinprick marks. And all that needs to be done now is pin it again, just to keep it from moving, and we're just going to make our way from pin to pin, from chalk mark to chalk mark, all the way down to the end. Now, you can opt to undo the hem a little ways out and go through the seam that way. I'll probably just go through the hem and trim after and then serge. Okay, it's up to you, your choice, your preference. In the end, I did decide to rip out the hem a little ways on each side of the seam. I'll simply sew on down the seam continuously through the end here, and when I'm finished, it'll all roll up very nicely back into place, like so. As well, with my ruler, I drew a line from each chalk mark to each chalk mark. Here's the pin line then that I'm going to sew along now, and let's just say we had gone through the sleeve. See how this is a continuous sleeve, which is just excellent for our purposes? You would want to do up here at the sleeve hem just like you did down at the bottom, and rip it out a little ways and go through the seam and then put this hem back again. Okay, let's go to the machine. There it is, that new seam. Now all that has to be done is trimming the seam and then serging it, which I'm going to do, or zigzag stitching on your machine. A lot of times in these tutorials, I recommend just using your pinking shears if you don't have either of the other capabilities. I guess I wouldn't recommend pinking in this instance because it's going to show through on a white shirt like this. So let's avoid that. As well, I have a little trick I really want to employ that trick now because I have 3 of these shirts to do. That means 6 seams. And so here's what that trick is. Keep this trimmed piece handy. There it is then, the nice new freshly serged seam with a nice curve to it. Here's that trick then. Okay, I'm on the other side of the shirt ready to do the next seam, and I would go through all the steps I just showed you unless I were going to use this trick, which is not going through marking everything like I did before. No, what I'm going to do instead is just yank out my pins, turn this wrong side out, rip out the hem again, lay that discarded piece right alongside the seam, pin it on, and then draw a line 1/4 inch out. In my humble opinion, this is infinitely easier than going through all that pin marking as we did in the beginning. Once the new pin line is established, just get rid of that piece. You don't need it. Ready to sew. And there it is then, with a nice, slimified taper. Good job!